Did you read some of that trivia that I dropped into the Discord?
I did.
I hadn't had a chance yet. I've
The co-writer, so Emmerich co-wrote it. It with somebody else, and that person got onto the Godzilla message boards in order to pick fights with other Godzilla fans over this movie, and it became so toxic they shut the entire Godzilla message board down.
Yeah, the screenwriter got mad online.
It's so good. It's so good.
Tore down an entire forum.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to know the one joke the movie tried with Matthew Broderick's character? How he was like Nick Tatopoulos, and everybody's like Tadpoulos.
Mm-hmm.
That's because that's actually the production designer. And so they always made fun of his name because he's a weird foreigner.
Yeah.
Patrick Tatopoulos is the production designer. But hey, he still works with Roland Emmerich, so I guess that he gets what he deserves.
Yep.
Also, listen to the designs that he's done. Underworld, iRobot, The Chronicles of Riddick, Independence Day, Stargate, 300, Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, 10,000 BC, Live Free or Die Hard. Like, oh boy.
It's like every movie you don't actually want to see that has high budget.
Isn't it amazing how one single movie can make you go, oh, I don't have any problem with feeling like I have any imposter syndrome anymore.
Yeah.
Anybody can make it.
Yeah.
Anybody can make it anywhere. The world's your oyster, baby.
Yeah, just like the cover says, size does matter.
Size does matter. Oh, God.
Welcome to Rough Cut. Where size does matter.
Dogs, they're coming. They're coming your way. They'll be here soon.
Please stand by.
I'll be slowing down!
Thing's only 200 miles off the eastern American seaboard. We don't even know what the hell it is.
No croissant? Non, monsieur.
Can we talk about how, before we get into the actual movie...
Well, just a second. I should do our intros, though. Hi, I'm your host, Ilian. This is our co-host, Boix.
I'm awake. Hello.
And our constant special guest who made us watch this movie.
I make you. Come on.
It felt like it to me. I didn't have a say in this. Boix agreed. I didn't.
I put Tank Girl in. Fuck you.
Okay. I'm Nick Filardi.
Matthew Broderick to my house to put me into his intelligence and exclusion zone so that I would agree. I know what you did.
Yeah, we could have all just ignored the fact that I put Tank Girl in and just watch Tank Girl and be like, wow, this Godzilla movie,
it's not really better. Good. It's not better.
No, it's not better.
Worse. It can't be worse. It can't be worse. I don't believe you.
Well...
All right. So Nick, you wanted to get in before we get into this. You had something to say.
Yeah.
So before we get into the movie, I just wanted to say that this is Roland Emmerich axe grinding with his Siskel and Ebert analog. Right. But also, when I was checking out the trivia, he's also J.D. Lees is founder and editor of a Godzilla fan magazine, G-Fan, and he built up an opposition to the movie. And the first New Yorker who gets killed is a lookalike of J.D. Lee's as well, which is like so petty,
it's
like
so specific,
specific to like Godzilla. Like, fuck you, Godzilla fandom. We made a Godzilla movie that you're unhappy about,
and I don't give a shit. I'm Roland fucking Emmerich. This movie's gonna make $400 goddamn million because I don't know.
Yeah, apparently this movie was like a mess from the beginning, though. Like, it was originally going to be a different director.
Sure feels like it. Yeah.
they didn't do any test screenings.
Yeah.
They thought it was going to be on a different type of film, so the CGI looks weird because it's on a totally separate kind of film. I don't know if that's just an excuse or what, but
it's
You
supposed
don't
to be
think
on.
the
There were
CGI
like
look better on different film. No.
there were like
It looks
three,
like shit.
there were like 3 rewrites to this thing too.
yeah,
Like Roland Emmerich and Devlin. Is it Drew Devlin?
yeah,
Drew Devlin are the last co-writers of it, but they weren't the first. And in fact, let me tell you, here's a fun little fact that I found out about.
Dean Devlin.
The original pitch for this film was not that it was going to be a Godzilla movie.
What could it have been?
Well, no, what it was is it started out where the release to start it, they had decided what they were going to do is that they were going to make a Mr. Magoo movie with
Yes.
yes.
Is this a joke? Are we
no,
making
no,
jokes?
no. Okay. American film producer and distributor Henry G. Saperstein, who co-produced and distributed past Godzilla films to the American market, received permission from Toho to pitch a new Godzilla to Hollywood studios. But Saperstein initially met with Sony Pictures producers Kerry Woods and Robert N. Fried for discussions regarding a live-action Mr. Magoo film, but the discussions randomly led to an availability of the rights to Godzilla. So in a meeting to a Mr. Magoo film, they were like, well, I don't know, maybe we can get Godzilla rights easier. And then that's how they started the production of Godzilla.
They just audibled into
Yes.
Godzilla.
Toho, who owns the rights for Godzilla, apparently sent them a 70-page document on like how to make Godzilla. Just like here's the sandbox you're playing in. Here's the what Godzilla is.
He's nuclear. He
And they
has
didn't
like
read it.
electric breath or like some kind of power breath of some kind. Yep.
So they also said he can't die in the end. Like he has to resubmerge. There's these typical Godzilla tropes. They actively did not read that thing that Toho sent over, and they just did whatever the fuck they wanted, which is wild to me.
Well, I think that that's fine, and I almost admire that because that's almost the right thing to do in some ways. Like, okay, if we're gonna Americanize this, like, let's make it an American movie or like feature it that.
Sure, but
like
they're so off the rails that it's like the Japanese fans like don't even consider it Godzilla. They call it Zilla.
Sure.
Yeah. They're like, oh, the Americans think this is Godzilla, but like we know that it's not, kind of thing.
But I can understand Americanizing a movie and like making it appropriate to an audience here and stuff. Like, and even
what you do is you have Puff Daddy having sex on the bed. And
Right.
then Godzilla shows up, and then he does a big rock music video about how we killed Godzilla.
Right.
We got that fucker. We fucking got him, bro.
Mission
Dead as
accomplished.
hell.
Get on the aircraft carrier. Get the banner ready. Mission accomplished.
Godzilla. Some would say Godzilla 98 is maybe the best big budget action film that has ever been recorded. And that person would be Roland Emmerich. But
yeah,
other people have said other things about this movie also.
I thought you were slowly getting into the joke of this is the biggest box office return from a foreign IP that Americans have ever made, which is true until Godzilla 2014.
No, that makes sense, yeah.
Which is wild.
Does it make sense? Does that make sense, Boix? Does that make sense?
Well, only thing that can top this is another Godzilla. People were so hungry for more Godzilla after this.
Yeah,
so
the only
hungry.
Maybe the New York Knicks will show up in this one, right?
As everyone knows, the only thing that can top Godzilla is another Godzilla. He's pure top. The only way that you can out-top him.
Well, Matthew Broderick's not a top, so no way Matthew Broderick tops Godzilla.
Okay, can we get into the plot of this?
I just want to spend I just want to say one last thing about the whole like Americanizing Godzilla. I have zero problem. Like I have no problem with him being like, okay, he lands in New York City. I have no problem with like all of that being very Americanized and changing a lot of it, and even changing a lot of the monster. I think that you can piss off fans and still make a good movie. The problem is they didn't make a good movie. They made a shit movie. Like, the biggest problem is, like, you could change a lot of Godzilla if you had the movie be good. The movie's fucking shit, so then why didn't you just do the... Anyway, like, you have a fucking blueprint to make something that people like, and instead you made something that nobody likes. Congratulations, you fucking moron. Anyway,
well, what they made was Independence Day meets Alien meets
The Simpsons.
Like, The Simpsons
meets I would like to destroy all of my critics at once in like the most petty and
then that means You've Got Mail, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Ebert. So Siskel and Ebert are in the movie as a petty fucking joke at Siskel and Ebert, and they did a review, of course, of the film, and they're like, yeah, you could put us in the film. I mean, it's petty as shit, and you didn't do anything with it, so I don't know why we're there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they lamented the fact they were not crushed to death by Godzilla, like they should have been.
Yeah, like if you're gonna do that joke, go all the way with it. Do something funny with it. Don't just like because the joke was that every time that Ebert is around a table, he's eating chocolate bars because he's a fat idiot.
If I'm wrong on this evacuation, they'll string me up from the Liberty Torch.
Didn't we agree that we weren't going to have any sweets until after the election?
Back off, Gene.
Yeah,
Jesus
they're always
Christ.
But what I was getting to is that they say that the movie feels like it was cobbled together from 6 monster movies in the dark without looking at what part of what movie they were putting next.
No, they said they chopped out all the good bits of those and put all the bad bits together.
Yeah.
So you were saying, Nick, about the Ebert?
Oh, so I'm reading a lot of 90s Batman books, and there's this great storyline where Joker decides he's going to make a movie that features the death of Batman, and he makes a parody posters, really hams it up, so it's like the Superman, you'll believe a man can fly, and it's like, you'll believe a bat can die. And he's like frustrated that Batman keeps surviving, and he's irritated. And there's a Siskel and Ebert analog in that too. And once they start pushing back on the film having like no substance, Joker fucking murders them in cold blood. And I'm like, yeah, that's what we wanted. That's what we wanted from this the whole time.
That's the joke, right?
That's what Siskel and Ebert wanted. Like, that's the thing, is that the funniest thing is that his critics that he's so mad about, that he hates so much, are like, well, why wouldn't you kill us? Like, why wouldn't you at least do the funny thing? Like, why wouldn't you do anything interesting with it, you dummy? Like, if you're gonna do that, like, at least kill us. Like, do something. Like, making these lame fucking fat jokes, just like, he just has like a bin of candy wrappers in front of him at every meeting because that's the joke. And that's it. That's the only joke. It's just, oh, Ebert's a fat, stupid slob. And you're like, okay.
All right.
Cool, man, I guess. Like, you could do something fun with it, and they just don't. He has no creativity. Yeah. He has nothing.
We don't normally watch big blockbusters, like, at all. Like, where would we get one? What, Strays coming out June 2023 with Will Ferrell? No.
You a stray. You can do anything you want. I'm going back to Doug's.
What?
The fuck, man? And he needs to pay for what he did with the only thing he truly loves. I'm gonna bite his...
You all watch Sonic. That's a blockbuster.
Yeah, I guess.
We also we've watched a few blockbusters, I would say.
Yeah, we went to Cats.
I was gonna say there's another blockbuster.
That was an experience. I wouldn't say that's a blockbuster, but
it is. It's a big budget. It's a big budget movie. It's a big budget movie with lots of big actors.
What I'm getting at is we don't get the loud movies with action.
No,
yes. Nothing happens. Right, so like,
and this was definitely loud. It was definitely loud.
Independence Day set a precedence for that type of film.
Sure,
making money, a lot of money.
Yes.
And it was actually sort of an okay movie, not because of Roland Emmerich.
No,
at all. It's the rest of the cast pulling it together.
He had actors that had charisma.
That movie.
Yeah. I was gonna say Will Smith, hikes across the desert.
This is movie directly after Independence Day, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is the follow up. So this set the precedence of just loud explosions.
Roland Emmerich also not the original director, didn't want to do this movie, not a Godzilla fan, didn't watch any Godzilla before this, just like jumped in and was like, I guess we're making this fucking thing.
Yep.
And it shows.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
that always shows with Roland Emmerich, though.
Yeah, it does. I guess what I'm getting at is, like, we're going to talk about what happens, but honestly, there's not a lot that happens in this movie.
No.
Yeah,
It's so long.
I started kind of writing scenes down because we watched, what did we watch? Wolf Cop or something like that?
Yep.
And there was a lot going on in Wolf Cop. A lot of story coming at you very, very quickly. I was like, okay, this time I'm going to take some notes. And I just dropped off because it's kind of the same note over and over and over again through this whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the same scene. Sometimes literally the same scene.
Sometimes literally the same scene.
10 minutes after that scene already happened. Yes, they just do it again because why not?
Well, the second time they used non-heat-seeking missiles, so...
And the second time,
twice,
I think they were trying to illustrate Godzilla got smarter when they tried to do it again, I guess. I don't know. We can get into it. Yeah. Let's not tease the audience. Let's jump in.
I wanna say one last thing though about like the whole Roland Emmerich putting all of his critics in the film. It feels very much like Kevin Smith at one point had a really bad Cop Out came out, which was just like everybody hated it. And he went on a big piss baby rant about like, oh, I'm going to start charging the critics to come to my movies if they're going to dunk on them. And Ebert immediately was like, that's not going to make us like your movies more, Kevin. And I was like,
exactly.
Like, Roland, this is, if you want a good review from Ebert and Siskel, maybe,
yeah, right.
Like, what a dumb move. Anyway, so I mean, it's so smart.
They would still put Ebert and Siskel in the film and still do it in a way that the critics would be like, oh yeah, this was funny.
Well, yeah, you don't do it petty and mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just didn't. So, point being, there's probably only one or two good scenes in the whole goddamn movie. The opening might be the best because it's the least loud and the least, like, character-driven.
It's also, the opening, you feel like a presence of Godzilla. You know, it's before they start to be like, hey, here's a full shot of him just, like, parkouring up a city, you know, like... It's when there's still a little mystery, there's still a little horror, little suspense, and then all of that gets thrown right out the window 10 minutes in.
Like, I finally watched Alien recently because of watching a full playthrough of Alien Isolation. I'm like, shit, I've watched some other Alien movies. I bought Alien vs. Predator on DVD when it came out without watching it, like an idiot.
Whoever wins, we all lose.
Yes. So, like, this Alien shit has to be good. Why didn't I watch that? And I did. Yeah. And you know what? They don't show that fucking alien for a long ass time. And it's spooky as shit. It's good. There's so much tension. And in this movie, they're just like, I don't know, 10 minutes maybe of that?
Right.
And those 10 minutes are good for the most part.
The first 10 minutes where you're like, oh, what's going to happen? Godzilla's a force of nature. And then the whole rest of the movie, you're like, oh, it's a cartoon. Now it's a cartoon. No stakes.
Literally later.
Literally at a certain point. But let's. So how does it open?
So I needed to say this because I was looking some stuff up too because I just wanted to triple check in my brain because I'm like, okay, it is as dumb as I think it is, right? I had to check geography for this. So there is a Japanese vessel. Makes sense. Godzilla, Japan. Okay.
Yeah.
Looks like a military vessel. Gets destroyed by Godzilla, essentially, is the opening. They're like, oh, what? There's something in the water. Okay. Destroys the vessel. Where is that ship located?
Panama. Right?
I guess. Yeah.
Outside of French Polynesia. Right?
Okay.
It was the French Polynesian Islands, is what they had said. Because... that's how the French get involved, because the French are going to be involved, by the way. Spoiler alert.
The French are bad, right? Because freedom toast, yeah.
Where's French Polynesia?
I don't know.
This is
I
what I had to
there was
check.
be a
South
test.
Pacific.
Yeah.
South
I
Pacific
think it's
Ocean.
South Pacific. I was gonna say. Yeah.
Okay.
So, where does Godzilla turn up next then?
Panama,
The
right?
Atlantic.
That's right, New York City, baby. I mean,
Oh,
okay, I guess
yeah,
no, he
okay.
does go through. Well, he does go through
No,
Panama.
he does
Yeah, I guess
Panama
right.
first, and then
I just-
so he went through the Pacific through the Panama Canal, got stuck because there was a ship there that was stuck in the canal, and he had to wait a week.
Mm-hmm,
Right.
mhm. Yeah, that was how they got Matthew Broderick to New York in time ahead of him and all that.
Right,
and,
right,
and then,
right.
like, once
Godzilla
they finally
wedged
dug
himself
the
in.
ship out,
Yeah.
Got all these excavators to pull Godzilla out. It was just the whole thing. But like, why the fuck does why does it have to be New York? Why does it have
Because
to?
America.
I can tell you the reason. They tell us, because they tell us everything in this movie. It's
Yes.
because he's nesting and he's looking for a perfect place to nest, and
Oh,
Manhattan
God, right.
Island is the perfect place for a Godzilla to lay some eggs.
Because Godzilla can hide in Manhattan. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
It's surrounded
Yeah,
by
I love-
water.
I love how they
Mhm.
mention it is the perfect island for Godzilla, because where else on the world is there an island surrounded by water that
Yeah.
also has a big city on it for Godzilla to hide in? Nowhere else exists like that.
Nowhere
There's
else in the world.
No-
Nowhere
Nowhere.
else in the world. I've never seen any Godzilla
Not-
movies
not in
with
the
any
South
like big
Pacific.
cities on an island. That's
Island,
never
there.
happened.
New York
No.
City, baby, greatest city in the world.
The only place where there's an island city like that. I've never seen any other one.
The only thing Godzilla doesn't do in New York is get a bagel with Lux.
Do you know what? There's one thing
Delicious.
that actually I was really surprised about now that I think about it, and you will be too, Boykes. We were wrong about
Mhm.
something. He never involved the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what the
never-
fuck was up with that?
Got
Even,
hit.
even
Okay,
X-Men
run
does
it
that.
down. Run it down. Brooklyn Bridge, Madison
Mhm.
Square Garden, Chrysler Building.
Negative impact. That's the goddamn Chrysler building we're talking about here.
Yep.
34th Street,
34th Street,
Broadway,
Stock Exchange.
Broadway.
Times Square. They blew up most of Times Square.
Yep.
That was one
Uh,
of the opening scenes. Yeah.
Whatever
They-
that tunnel they were in.
They briefly hit
Park Avenue.
Central Park as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Central Park.
There's
they
not
blow
there's
up.
not a lot to destroy there, but
No.
They
they're
didn't
there.
destroy the World Trade Center, oddly.
No, World Trade Center got out,
Ooh.
and
Got lucky there, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess Statue of Liberty too.
Yeah.
But yeah, like they never went. They did the Federal Building. That's what it was. They destroyed the Federal Building because they had like the George Washington statue and stuff like fall on.
Right.
Matthew
Can you
Broderick.
imagine Godzilla destroying Ellis Island, though? Like,
It's
Yeah.
a walk out there, that's for sure.
yeah.
He'd have to go for the Statue of Liberty specifically. They should have weaponized the Statue of Liberty. They should have
Yes.
been like, America's
They
been
should've
preparing for
They
this.
should have got the ooze and played it on a toaster.
Yeah.
Crossover potential here with G Gundam. You just have America Gundam burst out of the Statue of Liberty to go and
Exactly.
fight
Now we're,
Godzilla.
And
Now
it's
we're
Batman
fucking talking.
inside.
now we're fucking talking.
Uh,
That's a movie.
what universe can we? Who owns the rights to all that? There's got to be one company that owns all those properties now.
There's
right?
only
Like, there
two
has to
now.
be.
It's
Yeah.
just Disney and Warner.
It's been about 5 minutes since we started talking about the intro, so anyway,
I
they
don't want to talk
recorded
about this fucking movie.
they recorded the fucking tanker getting destroyed
Yes.
because they knew it was going to happen, and then they recorded the Japanese man being interrogated with a lighter held up to his face in English.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. John Reno yells at him in French until he realizes Japanese people don't understand French, but English, that's what Japanese
Exactly.
people speak.
They
That's
get
what
it.
he-
To be
Yeah.
fair, a lot of Japanese people do know English because they
Yes.
teach it in schools, but that's dumb as hell.
It's still very stupid. You're rolling your eyes, Nick, but it was real dumb. It was really
Yeah,
dumb.
But how many Japanese like fishing vessel guys are going to be bilingual? You know,
Yeah.
Right? Exactly. That's
these
the
are like
thing,
working
yes.
class blue collar dudes. You know,
Well, and he's also like in some whatever. It's just oh god.
Anyway,
don't worry. We'll
it's
see
fine.
that scene
The most-
about what 6, 7, 8 more
they,
times.
they showed that tape. That's why I pointed the tape out.
Yeah.
they showed that scene 6 or 7 times because they knew this is the only good part of the movie. when Godzilla almost came out of the water and scared everybody.
Yeah, that'll never happen again.
There's one thing they didn't fall into, one pit they didn't fall into. They didn't show a better movie on the screen anytime. There's no movie posters.
No, they did. No, they did.
There was a monster movie of like a squid black and white like 50s monster movie. Yeah.
And I don't know what that monster movie was, but I guarantee
it's better.
It was better than this.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
I guarantee.
Anyway, so they go get the worm guy.
They get the worm guy.
Matthew Broderick, who collects worms. That's his thing.
Literally his name is the worm guy. Everybody calls him the worm guy.
And the military just shows up on an island. Oh no, it's Chernobyl.
It's in Chernobyl.
Chernobyl worms.
Because the worms are 17% bigger because of radiation, and that's what he's studying. So they're like, "Oh, we got to get the worm guy on this.
We got to get the worm guy."
And so what they do is they get
the worm guy into the military.
Well, they bring the State Department military guys to talk to him, and they get led there by the communist Russians that exist in Chernobyl in 1998.
Mm-hmm.
Who are not the bad guys.
Who are not the bad guys.
No, it's the French.
Le croissant? Non, monsieur.
Look, there's an international market for this thing, and we gotta make as much money as we can on this.
All right, where do our movies sell? Where do they not sell? Oh, they don't sell very well in France. Fuck France. Let's make they're the villains. I don't understand why France.
We find out that the French were doing nuclear tests in the ocean.
Yeah,
the only country.
The famous French nuclear tests that caused Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And we also find out that everybody really wants to fuck the worm guy.
Oh
Those
my
are the two
god!
important things that happen.
He makes everyone around him. We talked about this. The cone of ignorance. He's so irradiated that he's making everyone else around him dumb and horned up.
And horny, including
Godzilla.
Yeah.
I may have named this room the Matt Broderick Intelligence Exclusionary Zone.
Yes.
Because it is obvious.
I want to jump ahead to the first time you really see Godzilla, because
it does basically jump ahead, because like after you get the worm guy, nothing happens. They just get the worm guy.
You get the worm guy. You get a little bit of romance. There's a little bit of romance that happens between the red-haired lady and the worm guy that doesn't go anywhere.
Oh, right.
It literally goes nowhere.
What's her name? Maria Palillo, I think?
No, that's the later one. That's the actual...
Because that's the lady who was trying to work with the newscaster, Kent Brockman.
Yes. Yeah. But that's not the one that he's talking about. There was
the
redhead. Don't you remember there was the redhead scientist lady that was at the very, very beginning of the movie, and she's like, oh, look at him. He's
the one that wants to fuck him. Right.
Oh
okay,
my gosh, he's so
There's so many of
dreamy.
them, it's hard
And
to
she's
tell.
just like, falling all over him, and then they don't have her in the movie for an hour.
There's a third love interest, which is Godzilla.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many.
It's what they call a love box, is what it is.
It basically just jumps straight to Manhattan. Like, they just get fucking into it. We don't need to hide this monster. We have such good CG. We'll just show it.
Yeah, this is like 15 minutes into the movie.
So after teasing us with like a little bit of suspense and a little bit of horror and dread, they're just like, fuck it, here's Godzilla. He just comes out of the water and he's just walking around New York City. Full shot of him. And you get introduced to Hank Azaria playing the cameraman, and he runs out to get a shot of Godzilla. And it's the first time we see Godzilla. And since he's so low on the street level and he's shooting Godzilla, it's just basically Godzilla's taint.
Yes.
Like, it's just a shot of his taint. And that's our introduction to the monster.
To a very specific audience, you could make a lot of money with that tape. Right? Like, he's
I may have asked very obviously at this exact moment if Godzilla had a cloaca, because we probably could have seen it.
Oh my god!
And I was very mad at you. You son of a bitch! Don't bring it up again.
The question that I had at this point was is Rough Cuts catering to their audience at this point? Like, what's the Venn diagram of the overlap between the people who want this from Godzilla and the people who watch read read rough cuts.
I can take this. I can take this. I can take this. We are absolutely 100% catering to rough cuts audiences because rough cuts audiences will well know that every weird director puts their own fetish into a rough cuts movie.
I didn't count
so
on
now
that.
we know what Roland Emmerich's is.
No, there's
Godzilla's
more than
cloaca.
just that. No, there's that. There's vor. There's piss.
There's a lot of piss. Yeah,
There's a lot, actually. Surprisingly, there's also running around yelling like Mo as a giant, strong lady steps on you.
Yep.
God.
From The Simpsons.
Hank Azaria starts out in a New York accent and quickly slips into Mo Sizlak.
Oh yeah,
most of this movie.
He's the voice of Homer and Mo and a bunch of other.
No, he's not Homer.
Yeah.
Not Homer? Okay.
He's not Homer?
I
thought he
was
was.
joking about that.
Yeah, I was like, what? I'm pretty sure.
Hank Azaria is not Homer. Hank Azaria is like Apu for the longest time. Chief Wiggum, Mo, like Snake.
He just does a bunch of voices. Got it.
Yeah, he's one of the main people, but oh god, who is I should know the name of it, but he's a very Dan Castellaneta. Yeah, that's
okay. Yeah,
but
God,
anyway, there's a bunch of Simpsons actors doing very bad attempts to hide their Simpsons voice.
This is the most Simpsons actors in a non-Simpsons role ever.
Mm-hmm.
It's gotta be
this
right?
movie. No, it is. It's verified. This is
I believe it.
The Simpsons presents Godzilla.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you're saying that they're trying to hide their voices.
I'm
saying they're not all.
I would say Hank Azaria made a valiant effort in the beginning of the movie.
Yes.
In the opening scene, you're like, oh, he's trying to be like a stereotype New Yorker, and then literally the next scene, it's like, oh, he dropped that, and then the scene after that, you're like, oh, he's Mo Sizlak. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's because
the Kent Brockman guy isn't trying. He's just Kent Brockman.
No, that's what I was saying. Yeah.
He's Kent Brockman, and they cast him as a news reporter. Like, there's a part in the film where he starts to narrate and you don't see him, and all your brain can do is be like, this is The Simpsons. Like,
yeah, you hear a news program. Yeah, you hear a news program in the background, and it's like, hi, I'm reporting for Channel 12 News. And you're like, oh my god, it's Kent Brockman. Like, why is Kent Brockman doing the fucking news? Like, it's the weirdest, most jarring thing. It's such a weird fucking choice. It makes no sense. You got to think too, like, we're talking about it in 2023, where, like, The Simpsons are obviously still going. They're still a thing.
Yeah, but
this
lost
is
some
2000
cultural relevance.
But 1998?
Peak Simpsons.
Like,
Simpsons.
How do you get away? How would you possibly choose this as
absolutely
thing?
It's intentional. Like, just like having Ebert and Siskel in the movie as a joke. It's intentional. It's just not smart.
Yeah, Roland Emmerich is on record as saying that he was a big Simpsons fan, so he casted as many of them as possible because he wanted to hang out with them.
Yeah, this is totally a personal project. That's all this is.
Yeah.
Just like all of his petty gripes in the movie. It's a personal thing. Yes.
He's just one big axe to grind, one big way to meet some celebrities. That's it.
But the point is, Godzilla's in Manhattan. Let's get back to that.
Okay, yeah. Godzilla's in Manhattan.
Fucking hell.
Okay.
All right, so Godzilla wrecks Manhattan, kills a bunch of cops.
Right.
And
he does step on a cop.
Just fucking disappears into nowhere. Even though
they're like,
Godzilla
the military's
is
on
big
site.
as a 10-story building, a 6-story building, 3 fishing boats, a car, and a 20-story building sometimes, depending on what scene he's in.
The front of the box says size matters, and I don't know how big he is. He's just fluctuating through the whole movie.
Size matters. They didn't say it was consistent.
Yeah, but Godzilla goes... So the reason Godzilla disappears is that he goes from a 20-story tall building Godzilla to a sewer pipe Godzilla.
Yes.
Which is like 20 feet, maybe.
Right.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Like at most. I had... Nick had tasked me at the beginning of this, because Nick had already seen it, to check Godzilla's size regularly. So I put 15-minute timers on throughout the beginning of this movie for a little while so that I could have Godzilla size check-ins. 5 minutes in, when Godzilla sinks the tanker, we decided he was about the size of a destroyer, is what it seemed like. About the size of a destroyer.
Yeah, the tanker destroyer size, sure.
Then he pulls a bunch of trawlers underwater, like you said, and then he shows up in New York and he's 25 stories high, is what I said at 20 minutes. At 35 minutes is when he disappears into the sewer, and then they find a hole where he came in, and it's a maximum 20 feet diameter of him getting into the sewer.
Right.
Which seems like a problem.
It seems like a problem.
I don't know.
It's almost like they shot a bunch of buildings and then they were like, add Godzilla to this. And then they were like, okay, that's fine. We'll just drop his model in there. Done for the day. Let's all go home.
No, Godzilla's bigger. It needs to be big on screen. You can't put Godzilla
right.
What? No, Godzilla's bigger.
To be fair,
make it bigger.
We're early. This is 98. We're early CGI, and it has to be very difficult to keep like size relevance like consistent within something like this. It's a challenge of the job.
Yeah,
but they should have been better at it.
I was gonna say, you say that, but here's my next note, because the 35 minutes is 20-foot diameter, 44 minutes is hiding in sewer, but then I is bigger than the tunnel, because a man goes into the sewer to try and find Godzilla, shines his light down the tunnel, sees Godzilla's skin and goes, well, guess there's nothing here. And then Godzilla opens his eye, which is the entirety of the tunnel, which the man somehow did not see.
Right.
But Godzilla is also still just hiding underground in the sewer, but his eyes are bigger than the tunnel. And his head
later on, later on, Godzilla's as big as a submarine, and then he's 20 stories after that, and then he's a bridge. It doesn't. Godzilla's. I think what they said is just make Godzilla big, and they didn't think further than that.
Right, and they gave it to a team of like 40 or 50 people.
Yeah,
and then they dished out the scenes, and they were like, make him big, and then everybody made him big.
And
not communicating with each other.
Fill the frame with every time that Godzilla is on frame. We want you to fill the frame with Godzilla. Make him fit exactly what the frame is, and then it's like, okay, but some of these frames have the Chrysler Building in them, and some of these frames have a sewer tunnel in them.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
This is the problem.
Anyways, one big difference between an American version of Godzilla, other than literally everything we've said, and a Japanese version, is the Americans react entirely differently to a Godzilla threat than a Japanese audience would. And when they get into the sewer and they're like, Godzilla disappeared into the sewer, what do we do? The military's like, I don't know, just fucking minefield the whole city. Who gives a shit?
The earth, motherfuckers. Easy.
Oh, man.
Scorched earth the whole city. Who cares?
Yeah, concrete and nuke New York.
Which, I mean, honestly, in some ways, that makes sense, except that one thing is, they don't do that, because then the next thing they do is they send guys with assault rifles to shoot him, and I am not kidding.
Well,
they
do that.
We're gonna bomb.
They do send guys with assault rifles, but not until they first set up a big pile of fish.
Sure,
okay, but guys, we're just glazing right over all the amazing character work that this movie is doing.
Oh no! Just a second.
We get introduced to Worm Guy's ex-girlfriend from college at a bar. We're just skipping right over that. She's a pivotal piece of this film. And, you can't just cut her out of the entirety of this film and still have a coherent movie.
Fucking watch me. Walking around with a bunch of worms in his pockets. He's like, oh, I want to fuck him.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's the one I let get away.
One of the things that this movie does is every time a new character comes on scene, they tell you their name and what their association is with the other characters around them.
And then how much they want to fuck Matthew Broderick. Yes.
And then everyone wants to fuck Matthew Broderick, of course.
Yeah, like I almost want to just drop the whole intro scene of this character that you're talking about in here, because when you say that she talks about her name and like everything, it's like, you're not joking at all. She's in a bar, the news program comes on, and it shows him like walking in the background, and she immediately has like a PTSD flashback where it zooms in on her. Boyks was laughing so hard when they did the zoom on her face.
Yeah.
Because she goes like, she has this like whoosh as it comes into her, and she's like, whoa, it's all flooding back, all the memories. And she's just like, so it was 1994. I was a fresh college graduate. My name was Shelley Duvall, and I found the love of my life, but I left him at the altar 8 years ago when I decided that I didn't want to live my whole life with him because he asked me to marry him. But then I found out
he carries worms in his pockets, and I was suddenly interested again.
Yeah, she's like, also
she
trying to be a reporter. Yeah, she's trying to be a reporter. She's an assistant to this actual reporter, the Kent Brockman guy, who's a misogynistic asshole to everyone around him. And she's like, my career dead ended. I gave it a shot and I dead ended. And now I kind of want to be with this guy who asked me to marry him, and I left him, like, because my life's shit now. So I should have gone back and been with him. And then we find out later that he's like carrying around photos of them in college 8 years after to like,
it's the saddest thing.
To military tents that are like makeshift labs. He's like, got to put up my corkboard of my ex-girlfriend that I'm definitely not over. It's madness. It's ridiculous. Absolute madness.
What I was getting to.
Nobody is a person.
This episode is a fucking mess. What I was getting to.
It sure is.
The pile of fish.
Right. Let's go. Okay. The first pile of fish.
The first plan.
Fucking time. But this pissed me off, actually. I'm thinking about it now. Before the pile of fish, Matthew Broderick buys a Kodak disposable camera.
And
he takes a bunch of photos, including in this moment when he meets up with Godzilla, and Godzilla's like, hey, Matthew Broderick, I'm Godzilla. I just came out of the ocean, and I just met you, and now I want to have sex. How's it going? That's my whole life story anyway. And then the record scratch stops. He takes a photo with the flash in the middle of a rainstorm at night. And he keeps taking photos of Godzilla with this disposable camera. They never show any of the fucking photos he took with the Kodak camera. So why did he do it?
He goes into like a
because
bodega.
It was Kodak sponsored.
But he goes into a bodega and it's like, oh, is he going to get his film developed? Nope. He's buying pregnancy tests. We'll get into that later.
Oh, we need to talk about how pregnant Godzilla is. That's true. Which is not a fetish.
No, fish. Fish first. Pile of fish. So, the military plan, they got 6 dump trucks, and the mayor's upset about it. And they
is mad about everything.
They got 6 dump trucks of fish, and they're trying to lure Godzilla in. And then question mark.
Yeah, their master plan is to create a firing circle around the fish, so that when Godzilla shows up, they all shoot each other.
Which the movie actually, the worst thing about that, the funniest and worst thing about that is that, because they do this exact same plan later also.
Yes.
And I mean, like, 10 minutes later, they do the exact same plan.
Fish pile number 2.
Again. But they do the circle firing squad, and it's like, okay, this is very stupid. They're obviously going to shoot each other. And in the second one, they actually show where the military fires missiles at Godzilla. Godzilla ducks, and all of the helicopters, the 30 or 40 of them that are somehow like all stacked up on each other, go like, oh no, evasive maneuvers, dive, and like start doing all this shit. And you're like, so the movie knows that this is fucking stupid. The military knows this is fucking stupid in the context of this universe, and they're still just gonna do it again, huh? Like, we're just gonna keep doing the same thing.
What I'm getting at, though, is there's an FMV helicopter video game that occurs. And then, after Godzilla kills all of the military, they're super dead, definitely never gonna fight back again. Godzilla humps a building in defiance.
Gotta let him know. Gotta
And
let
then
him know.
that hard cuts into the romance plot between Matthew Broderick and his ex-girlfriend.
I know
shows up.
some writers that use subtext, and they're all cowards.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
like, and this is Maria Palillo, right? So
Yes, yeah.
that's her. She's the fucking weird ex. But
News
she
reporter,
shows
yeah.
up at the middle of Times Square, I guess, where the military was, and she's just like, "Hi, they let me in. I just wandered over.
Yeah.
We should date." Oh no, was she trying to call him? It was even dumber. She was trying to call him on a payphone, and she couldn't get a hold of him. And then she turned around, and he was there.
Yep.
Well, everybody in New York just knows each other. It's like a big
No,
community,
that's the
man.
second. That's the second time
Is
she
it?
bumped into him. That was after she had stolen the tape. The
Yes.
first time
Oh
she
my
bumped into
God.
him was he was buying the pregnancy tests at the
He was buying
corner
pregnancy
drugstore,
tests.
and she just walked in and was like, "Hey, what's up?"
Hey, you buying pregnancy tests? You want to hang out?
Yeah, she
Yeah,
just runs
exactly.
into him at random in New Jersey. They're not even in
Yeah.
New York now. Now they're in New Jersey because they've all been evacuated.
God,
Man,
It's
this movie.
It is stupider than you can ever possibly imagine. And when you're talking about it's an FMV cutscene of helicopters going through the city, like when they do the second one, the first one they have 3 helicopters and Godzilla destroys them all. And it looks pretty bad because you're talking about the size of Godzilla all the time, Nick, but the size of these helicopters is what fucked with me.
Yeah, also fluctuating. Yeah.
Well, and half the time they've got to be 5 feet long.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
they're
very
tiny,
They're very
tiny
tiny.
helicopters. They're like, because in the second time that they do this scene where they decide, okay, that worked mostly, but what if we made an even better circle with more guns so we could shoot each other harder? And they have like 30 or 40 helicopters, and I do mean 30 or 40 instead of 3, which that kind of makes sense, except for the fact that then the scene is like Godzilla running, and they're filming all the helicopters behind Godzilla, and they're all like crashing into it. Like they're 2 feet away from each other. Like they're too close, and they're all like firing chain guns, and like
they're all shooting, and there's like one safe helicopter in the back, and the guy in the front of the pack of helicopters is like, "I'm in danger."
Like,
this was a mistake.
I'm getting shot from behind by all the assholes that are shooting from behind, and I'm also the closest to Godzilla. And the whole time it looks like you could do miniatures and stuff, but instead it's done in bad. It's done in the worst fucking CG imaginable, because I had heard lots of stories about how bad this CG was, even at the time. Like when it came out, I remember skipping it because I knew a few friends of mine watched it and were like, "Oh man, that movie looks like garbage." I was not prepared for how bad this movie looks.
The reason is because they put it on the wrong film. It would look better if they put it on a different film.
There's nothing you could do.
Buffoon. Like, you moron. This is how you close a fucking Godzilla forum.
So about that particular, so there's the trivia of like, you know, they said, oh, they made the CGI for a particular film, and then the Godzilla movie didn't end up on that film, so it looks worse than it is, and we corrected it with the Blu-ray release, which who knows if that's a thing. I don't know. Did we watch? I don't know if what we watched.
This
was
is a
Blu-ray
DVD release, so no.
Okay, so this is the one with the good CGI, or the bad CGI,
bad quote unquote CGI. Yes.
So, but I don't, because the writer and producer like went on such a rant against Godzilla fans that he created an environment that was so toxic that it shut down an entire Godzilla forum online. That like, I don't know what's real and what's bullshit that he's spinning. Like, he could have said something out of like anger on that forum about the film stock, and then it's totally not a real thing, and he's just trying to be like, you fuckers don't know how to make movies, you know? Like, who knows what's real? Who knows?
What I do know is real is that Matthew Broderick and his ex decide to go have tea, which is a perfect opportunity for him to start investigating Godzilla's piss.
Yep.
Well, and blood. Piss and blood. He got
piss and blood, which he collected himself.
Yes.
Individually. Went up to a giant pile of Godzilla piss and just grabbed a vial or two.
previous to this, he's like, "Oh, you're a reporter? That's great. I'm so happy you made it. Now come to my top secret military tent. We're going to have tea. Don't worry about it. I'll leave you alone in here for a while. It's cool."
With, let me also say, with the tape that has on it a label in red marker that just says top secret. It's just written just on like a sticker.
Nobody will
on
know.
The side of it.
Nobody will know. Don't look at this. Yeah.
And she's like, I think I'm just going to take this.
But he runs Godzilla's piss through a pregnancy test that he bought at the corner shop.
Right.
And that's where he determines that Godzilla is pregnant and he lays eggs. And Godzilla, will be laying eggs. Eggs, just like a horse, will lay eggs. Just squat down and lay eggs like a horse.
Right out of that cloaca, just like a horse.
Just like a horse. So she takes that
and runs. Yeah.
She takes that tape and then decides to edit it so that everybody else can watch the opening of Godzilla, where the Japanese tanker man
the good part of the
sitting
movie
there getting talked to by a Frenchman with a lighter in front of his face.
What kills me about this part is that she betrays his trust again by stealing this top secret tape and outing Godzilla to the world. Godzilla destroyed New York! What's top secret about it? Oh, the government knows that Godzilla exists. Yeah, so does fucking everyone on the planet.
Yeah.
Godzilla was just wandering around the street. Technically, the military destroyed New York. Let's be fair.
Yeah. The military did blow up the Chrysler building as a joke.
The entirety of this movie is like the military shooting slow-moving missiles at Godzilla and Godzilla just ducking out of the way of a national monument. Like, it's just
every time Godzilla
pulling
moves, there's
pranks.
a fucking monument behind her.
Yeah. It's just Godzilla pranks up and down the line.
Oh, you thought you were going to kill me? Oh, you fool. You have accidentally...
The top secret video is literally just, we found out there's a thing called Godzilla.
Yeah.
And then a week later, it lands in New York. There's nothing revelatory. There's nothing. Everyone knows all the stuff that's already on that tape.
However, this is her big scoop. She's going to become a reporter. Her news story gets stolen by Kent Brockman.
In Simpsons fashion.
Yes. And then, I don't know, Godzilla goes after another pile of fish, I guess.
Yeah, they do the fish thing again.
Fish thing again. This is when,
the important thing is they fired the worm guy after that.
Yeah, they fired the worm guy. They were like, they mentioned you by name on the news, you went to the press, you're out of here.
And what also pisses me off about that is that he says, okay, Godzilla's pregnant, here I have proof of it, we need to find the nest, and then they go, oh my god, you leaked all this stuff to the news. And they fire him. Okay, that makes sense. But then they're like, well, that means his pregnancy stuff must be wrong.
Yeah.
What? Why?
Yeah.
No, what? No, you fired him for operational security, not because...
Not his information.
He showed you the science.
Right.
Why would you not believe that?
Yeah, but anyways, the French spy agency abducts the worm guy.
Oh, man.
Hold up, we have to get into the French.
Hold on.
We have to talk about
you sure?
French.
Are you sure that they're French? How are you sure that they're French?
They were talking in a French stereotypical accent. They were also very mad that French roast is not French.
They also got into a UPS undercover vehicle that had a giant French flag. While complaining that there were no croissants at the donut shop.
They couldn't find a single baguette. Yeah. They better be French. Yeah,
I love. This was actually brilliant casting, though. I will say, I love Jean Reno in this.
Yeah, he's very, very good.
But they abduct the worm guy and they talk him into helping out the French find the eggs that they know must be real because the American government is stupid. And even though you had proof, because somebody leaked the tape that you made that you wrote top secret, do not watch, definitely don't give to the press.
Yep.
Yeah, so as it turns out, Godzilla is actually a whole military cover-up because there is a giant military industrial complex that is an empire spanning the globe that is trying to maintain nuclear superiority over everybody else, and they will do anything to keep it hidden, having massive spyware networks and everything to, solve all the problems about it. That's right, the French.
The French.
Yeah.
So
the French.
As everyone knows.
This is a classic joke in the movie Kung Pao, Enter the Fist, where there's aliens at the end of the film, and then they're like, oh my god, they're French. And that's the joke. Jacques Le Bleu. Like, it's that joke. It's
Speaking of,
I think it's serious. I don't.
Yeah.
There's only one good joke in this whole movie that is front to back jokes.
Yes.
Where they pretend to be American, the French spies that are capable, extremely capable, up until they're around Matthew Broderick.
You mean they entered the Matthew Broderick intelligence exclusion zone? Yes.
Yes.
And
it's
then
been so
they're
irradiated in
stupid.
Chernobyl, no one can stand in his aura.
And then the guy does an Elvis impression to prove that he's American to another military guy, and it's actually very good. It's a
good
excellent.
joke. Yeah.
That's because John Reno is actually a good actor and charismatic and fun.
Right.
But I kind of did like the joke of them chewing bubblegum. He hands out bubblegum to all of the French guys. So they can. It's like, well, when we chew gum, we look more American. And he kind of looks at all
And
of
then
them.
they were chewing gum.
Yeah,
and
right.
like, they look more American.
They do look
Yeah.
more American. Yeah,
That
that's
works,
totally
yeah.
wrong, actually.
Anyway, after the French abduct the worm guy, fucking hell.
Right.
The Godzilla goes on another
halfway
rampage.
through this film.
Yeah, we're not halfway.
There's 2 films. There's 2 or 3
There's
films.
3.
Okay, let's.
But,
all right, sorry.
but the last 2 parts are quick. So we would have been quicker if you would have stopped going on tangents. So
We can't stop when the movie can't. Okay.
the point I'm getting at is the fish 2, the second pile of fish where they go in a circle and decide to shoot at Godzilla again, doesn't work. So Godzilla jumps in the water.
Doesn't work
in the bay.
No. Godzilla's hip to it. He comes up to the fish and he kind of smells it and he looks around and he's like, "You guys are gonna shoot at me." And he starts to retreat, and then they start shooting at him.
And then they shoot at him because they're like, "Damn, he's right. We were gonna shoot at him."
Yeah, exactly.
And then he jumps in the water. There's 2 subs in the water.
Yep.
And Godzilla 3. Okay, well, Godzilla kills at least one of them.
Yes, because
doing
the
a
other 2
prank.
fire torpedoes.
More pranks. Yeah,
Does
more.
a prank with the torpedoes by leading torpedoes back to the sub, but destroys the sub first, just to show that Godzilla means it.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the other subs shoots another torpedo, which kills Godzilla.
Yep.
T-posing and all through the water.
I want to ask a quick question. How did those torpedoes track Godzilla? How did they track him?
Well, with heat seeking. Yeah.
But you can't.
That was
they used
the
to
literally
helicopters.
impossible. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't.
No, they use
Can't
heat-seeking
heat
missiles.
seek. The helicopters were hitting the Chrysler
No,
building because they can't.
those are
heat
helicopter
seek.
missiles. These are torpedoes.
That makes a lot of sense.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you see, yeah.
Yeah, they make a big plot point of you can't use heat-seeking missiles or anything on Godzilla because he's cold-blooded, you see, so he has no heat, which
essentially
How it works.
thwarts the entire American military. Like they're just like, I don't know, nothing you can do.
Except until now, when they fire heat-seeking torpedoes and they follow Godzilla.
Yeah, right.
It is really funny that Godzilla T-poses in the water, so you know Godzilla's dead. But anyways, they go to Madison Square Garden, which is where the eggs were laid, right? So
gotta have a landmark to blow up.
Yep. And our characters go through the subway, I believe.
Yeah, the military, by the way,
Subway,
not on this tip. They think we've gotten Godzilla. It's all done. Don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
By they go to Madison Square Garden, it's the French spy network, and then Matthew Broderick. And then his ex-girlfriend, who's trying to be a reporter, and Hank Azaria, who's a cameraman, are following them, like, I guess, in the tunnel. I don't know how they can't hear them behind them, but whatever, it's fine. So they go to Madison Square Garden, and they're like, "Hey, there's a few eggs here. as they're standing in just a field of eggs.
Well, he doesn't even just say there's a few. He specifically says, "Oh my God,
3.
They laid 3 eggs. I can't believe it's that many."
Yeah, and then the camera pulls back, and it's like 40, 50,
Yeah,
100 eggs.
Yeah.
Second or third time they've done that joke, because they did it with the footprint too, where he's standing there and he doesn't see it, and then the camera pans out, and it's like, oh my God.
I would like to take this moment to remind everybody that Matthew Broderick is the epicenter of the Matthew Broderick intelligence exclusion zone. Okay?
Yeah.
There's a reason. He's not the smartest.
They're trying to make a joke. But every actor is playing it so straight that I'm like, are they?
I don't know if they
It
are.
was supposed to be a joke. Yeah, absolutely.
Was it supposed to be a joke?
It had to be, because it's the same joke as the footprint. It's literally the same joke as the footprint.
I guess.
They just did it with eggs.
It never works as a joke. They deliver the line. It's the same thing with in the first X-Men movie where Storm is like, you know what happens when a toad gets hit by lightning? Same thing as everything else. And it's like, oh, that was supposed to be a joke. And then Halle Berry just delivered it right down the middle, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's what's happening here.
Anyway, while they are doing that, they find out the eggs start hatching.
Yep.
And then Matthew Broderick goes, wait, we all smell like fish because of the thing that we were doing earlier. Don't ask what that thing was. And then Hank Azaria lifts his fingers to his nostrils and sniffs them.
Oh.
And then he tells
raises
the
many
audience,
questions for me.
Yeah,
but
he turns toward the camera and he's like, "Oh my God, I smell like fish," right? Like they have to explain everything to the audience.
Godzilla has been bringing fish in his cheeks like a woodchuck or a squirrel or whatever. Chipmunk, and bringing them to Madison Square Garden and then just puking the fish out around the eggs so that when the eggs hatch, they'll have something to eat. That's the idea.
How much fish could Godzilla puke out if Godzilla could puke out?
But the Godzillas start hatching and they're really cute. But then it turns into Jurassic Park because Jurassic Park was popular. So let's do that.
Oh my God, this whole movie is like, I'm gonna make a bigger Jurassic Park. You got 4 raptors, I've got 100 raptors.
Size does matter,
right? You got 1 T-Rex. When this movie was being promoted, one of the teasers was a big Godzilla foot crushing a T-Rex skeleton. They were really going after Jurassic Park.
You know what they do in Jurassic Park? They didn't have the T-Rex slipping on gumballs.
Oh yeah. So they're trying to evade these raptors basically in Madison Square Garden, and they knock over a thing of gumballs, and they're comically sliding around. The raptors are comically sliding around to the point where we cut away and then we cut back and they're still sliding around like idiots.
Yes.
You can tell the complete lack of respect for Godzilla in any form. Is shown very well in the Madison Square Garden scene. There's another part where Matthew Broderick is running away from the raptor Godzillas, and he goes into the elevator, and after pushing one of the dinosaurs out with his foot, shuts the door, and when it goes to the next floor, it opens up to another floor of T-Rexes eating popcorn. And he's like, wrong floor, haha. And he closes the door again. That's literally a Gremlins 2 joke.
Oh man, so many of the little animatronic heads crashing through the glass when they're trying to broadcast that there's a problem here, or them trying to fight it. Anytime it's animatronic, it looks like Gremlins. They're just quirky, weird Godzillas just having a ball at the expense of Madison Square Garden. Which is
they're all wearing sunglasses and jerseys from the Knicks and chewing popcorn and
it's which is kind of fun, but I don't know if this is the movie you're trying to make.
No. That's what I'm saying. The reason Gremlins 2 came about is because they didn't want to make another Gremlins. They were forced to by the studio, so they just said, "Fuck it, I'll make the worst thing I can."
Yeah.
Fuck them.
Yeah.
Right? And this part feels like that. Fuck Godzilla.
Right. Yeah.
How dare you? make me make a Godzilla movie.
But it was like, nobody forced you, Roland. Roland, you could say no. You just didn't have to
said
write
no.
it. You just could have said no. Yeah, for no. Anyway, so we have the whole Jurassic Park thing. They radio out through the broadcast center because, well, she's a news reporter, so she knows where they send out all the Knicks, or no, the Rangers games. Was what
Rangers games,
yeah. The Knicks locker room is just there for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and so she goes on their intranet, which she says they have an internet, but
they have an internet.
The subtitle corrected it to "it's on the intranet," which actually makes sense. I love that the subtitle was like, "That's fucking
we're gonna
stupid. I'm just gonna fix
this."
Listen, this is real bad. Let's just,
look. The broadcast room is on an internet. We can broadcast from here. Oh my god!
Yeah. So she sends an email to the.
The guy in the
military
the broadcast computer.
Oh yeah, no,
the broadcast
the broadcast guy.
Yeah,
and she's like, "Put us on the air," kind of thing, and then he puts them on the air because they zoom out to all the dinosaurs in Madison Square Garden. Oh my god!
Like, please destroy Madison Square Garden immediately. And then, they get wind that it's going to take them 6 minutes to destroy Madison Square Garden, and they got to get out. And all the zany antics of all
my favorite part, though, about that broadcast is when Matthew Broderick pulls out a flute, like a recorder, and he's like, hey, I'm going to now sing my song about all of the Pokemon. And then the whole time, his ex is like, I can't not fuck him.
Yeah. Well, that's why Godzilla shows back up again. He was lured there by the musical
prowess. Looking at him that whole broadcast, biting your lip.
It's God.
Well, he's talking about worms and Godzilla.
Yeah, pockets full of worms. This dude.
I want to point out one last thing with Matthew Broderick's character. What is the hat he's wearing? He's wearing like an oversized fucking beret. It is the stupidest, dorkiest garbage. God,
I just chalk it up to...
It's Rushmore, which came out that same year, I think.
It's that.
Yeah.
So military's going to blow up Madison Square Garden. They use a bunch of antics to get out of there. They're all surprised.
They go, all right, bomb Madison Square Garden. And then they go, wait, how much time do we have to get out? Do it immediately. Wait, should we leave? Oh, I guess we should. Should we leave? Yeah, we should probably leave, huh?
Because Scooby-Doo happens with the Raptors. They get out. The characters get outside.
In some of the stupidest ways possible. Like shooting chandeliers down to go through a field of 100 of them because raptors are afraid of
the chandeliers. Yeah, I don't know.
But they get out, they blow up the garden, and the movie ends. That's the end of the film. It's over.
That's the end of the movie. Godzilla's dead. The babies are dead. End of the movie.
Nothing else can happen except for Matthew Broderick getting fucked by everybody.
Yeah, Matthew Broderick gets his kiss from his ex-girlfriend who has betrayed him multiple times.
Who asks him when he has all of the pregnancy tests what kind of harem he has. And the answer is actually everybody. It's Godzilla. It's the female. It's the redheaded female scientist. It's you.
It's a love box. Yes. Yes. The music swells. It basically ends. And then what happens?
And then Godzilla's not dead because we need more movie, I guess.
Just shoots out of the rubble of Madison Square Garden.
Yeah,
was there the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was under Madison Square Garden, but it was trapped, and because Godzilla is too big for the sewer, so it needed to help to get out. That was
the size of Godzilla at this moment is the size of Madison Square Garden, right? Because the whole garden center is the size of Godzilla when the head pokes through.
Yeah.
Godzilla went to the garden center, and
the first time I watched this, and they did that bait and switch, and we're gonna end the movie, and then Godzilla comes out of the Madison Square Garden. I audibly went, "Oh fuck you!"
Yeah, you groaned audibly.
Come on.
I mean, I knew it was happening, and I still felt like that the whole time.
Yeah,
but the Frenchman goes with Worm Guy and Lady and Animal. I forgot to mention that the camera guy's name.
Cameraman's named Animal. Yeah.
Yes.
The French guy's name is Roach because he's a French spy. a roach.
It's worm guy, roach, animal, and ex-girlfriend. And they're all piling in a cab to get out of there.
But the way they get in the cab is he hacks the ignition with a knife, which only works on Kias and Hyundais, according to TikTok. So.
Yeah, he just knifes open the key area and then just jams the knife in and turns it like a key. You know, how you hotwire
That's
cars.
how that works.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's a French spy, he'd know.
They do a big stupid car chase through New York.
At this point,
a bunch of other shit.
It's Godzilla versus this one car. It's Godzilla trying to get revenge on this one car.
Godzilla has a personal vendetta against Matthew Broderick and his stupid aura.
This is okay. We've made a lot of jokes, but like this is the line where I'm like, oh, we're not in a Godzilla movie anymore. Like Godzilla should be a force of nature. Godzilla is a hurricane. You can't reason with it. You can't get its attention. It's going to do whatever it's going to do. And here it's like Godzilla's like, Matthew Broderick, I'm going to kick your ass or love you. One of the two. And then we get that for the rest. We get that for the rest of the movie. And it's like, I don't know how much Godzilla you guys have watched or read, but there's an amazing comic called Godzilla: The Half-Century War, drawn and written by James Stoke. And it's about a guy who is in a tank in the first time Godzilla comes out of the water. And it's about his personal war over the next 50 years. Sometimes helped by his government, sometimes not, to kill Godzilla. And then by the end, because that seems impossible, just get Godzilla to notice his existence. And Godzilla never does. Yeah. And that's Godzilla. That's Godzilla. And I don't know what the fuck this is that we're watching at this point in the movie.
I mean, because Godzilla is meant to be, like you said, a force of nature, because I haven't seen a lot of Godzilla media. But for example, Shin Godzilla, when Boyks was talking about earlier, how we had said the incredible difference in response between Japanese Godzilla and American Godzilla, where they're just let's just fucking nuke New York City. Fuck it, man. Whatever. Yeah. Manhattan, let's make it a wasteland. And in Shin Godzilla, they come out there and they bring out a couple of helicopters to shoot down Godzilla, and they go, wait, there's civilians in those buildings behind him. We can't shoot.
Right.
And then later on in the movie, at the same, because he's like, well, I'm not going to be the person that says that I ordered the military to shoot where there were civilians. I will not be the prime minister that authorizes that. And then later on in the movie, they're like, okay, Godzilla's become bigger and bigger, and now he's a real threat. He's going to fucking destroy Tokyo. And they go, we need to discuss the possibility of bombing Tokyo. And the fucking room goes silent. It's like a fucking grave.
It's a big deal. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like there's supposed to be a horror of war and of nuclear weapons and stuff involved with Godzilla. This is our hubris for making these things.
So anyway, Godzilla chases the taxi cab into a tunnel that's blocked off, and he can't get to the taxi cab, and he's like a dog trying to get through a tube trying to get this taxi cab, and they're like, what do we do? And they turn the taxi cab around, they turn the headlights off, and they're like, I know, we'll get out of here by flashing our high beams at them to make them flinch, and then we'll just drive on into safety.
You flash the high beams at them. And it works.
Well, as I mentioned during the filming of this, while we were watching this originally, I do have my own theory as to that. None of them realize the existence of the Matthew Broderick intelligence exclusionary zone. And it's not the brights. That is the edge of his zone. And when it strikes Godzilla head on like that, that's a lot of psychic damage, let me tell you.
They decide to go to the nearest suspension bridge, which is obviously Brooklyn Bridge.
Yeah.
For some reason.
This one actually makes sense. I actually agree with it, because they want him to get tangled up in the suspension cables.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay, it didn't work.
That was the plan.
So
no, it kind of worked.
Kind of.
They immobilized him enough that they could actually use missiles, because he's been dodging missiles this whole time.
Which is
a couple of fighters a couple of fighters come in. He can't really move around. Hit him with 6 missiles. They turn back around, hit him on the other side with 6 missiles, and that kills Godzilla.
And that's after the scene where Godzilla tries to board the taxi.
Yes.
With everybody.
I forgot about
And there's an
that.
extended scene of them in Godzilla's mouth, which is not a fetish.
Yeah, not a fetish.
And they keep going back and forth until they get Godzilla to spit the car out of his mouth by electrocuting him.
Yeah. Yep, that's a thing.
Yeah. No, they go wrong way, John Reno. You're driving the wrong way. And John Reno's like, shut up, let me drive. When you're stuck like this, you need to wiggle the car back and forth. You see, you gotta get some traction.
The whole time we're like, how are they getting out of this? Well, there's one way out, the back. They'll just drive right through.
I just gotta get out that cloaca. But
the Americans really showed Godzilla just blasting ass. A whole taxi right out of the butthole.
They should have, though.
They should have. Better. That's a good movie.
They crushed, like, Godzilla, like, chews that cab for a solid 30 seconds.
They were absolutely dead the first time that car got crushed in the mouth. Yes.
Yeah.
Like, he's chewing on it. He's fucking chewing on it. And they're like, I don't know, let's just drive it out. And they drive it out, drop the 150 feet that Godzilla is in the air to the ground, and then they just drive away.
So, with Godzilla tangled
Godzilla,
in the...
though.
Godzilla's dead. And there's a big swell of music. And Matthew Broderick gets out of the taxi, and he breaks from the crowd, and he approaches Godzilla's face. And there's this moment of like, oh God, we're the real monsters.
All we did,
like, what have we done?
Killed the beast. To stop this thing. Wow.
And they Matthew Broderick and Godzilla share a powerful, deeply sexual connection. And then it smash cuts to people cheering for Godzilla's death. And I'm like, I don't know what's the tone of this movie? What are we going for?
Yeah, it's everybody laughing and cheering and being like, oh, yay, we killed it. Godzilla's done. Man's hubris will never be ended. America. Because, like, you gotta think, like, that is normally Godzilla, right? Godzilla is, like, the stand-in for hubris. Like, nature rebelling against all of the things that we've done to nature.
Right.
And instead it was like, we've conquered it. Fuck yeah, man. Man's the best.
Yep.
Man forever. Fuck nature.
America.
However, what they did not count on is deep in the rubble at Madison Square Garden, there exists an egg that has begun to hatch.
And for one night only, you too can get... I took it.
Why wouldn't they just kill the next god? They just kill that
Godzilla. Just kill it. They planned a sequel that was going to take place in Australia for some reason.
Yeah,
that never got made. Obviously, it's referenced in I think Godzilla All Out War or something like that. There's a Godzilla movie that they made in Japan, Toho made, where Godzilla basically fights everybody, every single enemy he's ever had, and Zilla shows up in that, and Godzilla just stomps him in like a minute.
Good.
It's pretty fucking great. Yeah,
that's great. That's good. Yeah. That's the good shit.
But that's Godzilla 98, right? So
there's a little bit of wrap up at the end where like the French spies stole the tape, so like nobody will know about Godzilla. I guess I don't even know what the point of that is.
No, he's hiding the French
French spy network.
Yes, he's hiding the massive military-industrial complex that exists in France.
That's why to this day we call it Freedom Toast in the morning.
Yes, exactly.
Freedom Toast.
Yeah, freedom Matthew from Broderick, the French warmongers that are out there.
With Godzilla dead and the red hair girl kissing somebody else, Matthew Broderick decides to get back with his ex-girlfriend who has done nothing but double cross him.
Yep.
And that's how the movie ends.
I guess. Yeah, what a good message. America wins. Yeah.
Kind of.
America wins. We triumph over nature. Fuck nature forever. Hell yeah, baby.
I did figure something out about...
Can we just blow up Manhattan just for fun now? Can we just...
Right. It doesn't have any more landmarks. We might as well.
Sorry, boys.
What I figured about this movie is it's essentially like two kids with a Godzilla doll, right? Like an action figure, and another action figure, and they're just mashing them together over and over again while they're saying stuff. And that's the movie. It's just action figures, and then, oh no, Matthew Broderick showed up. Oh, but the French military. Oh, but the spies. And they're just like moving these figures around, chatting to each other. Like that's how it was written. It feels like that. And then all the helicopters. Like
how many helicopters? There's like 100 helicopters.
It's children. It's
like
children
they got a
writing
child
the
on
script.
the playground mashing action figures together. Wrote the story. Yeah.
There's 150 helicopters all shooting missiles at him.
150? Isn't that too many? Do you think we should make it 200?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Dean Devlin, one of the co-writers, who was so toxic that he got the entire Godzilla forum shut down. He has later said that the budget and scope of the movie got out of his hands. It was overwhelming for him, and that he felt like there were things in the script that he wanted to address, and he just never had time to address them. And so the script got away from him, and it just turned into a mess.
Yep.
Yeah.
Roland Emmerich has since been on record saying that he regretted his decision to direct this. However, he still takes pride in how much fun the audience is having while watching it. Are we having fun?
Well, no, but I'm sure he takes more pride in the $400 million, that they made on it.
Yes.
Than anything else.
It's true.
But okay, let's get to the dog. So let's rate Godzilla. Zilla, the big GZ. I believe is his rap name.
I don't even consider him to be a dog. When he's Zilla, when he's huge, not a dog. That's my rating.
He got his head
not
stuck
a dog.
in the tunnel, right? Like,
he
like
got
a dog.
That is true.
And then
I forgot about
trying
that.
to lick at the treat at the end of the tunnel, but it was too far. So he kept trying to put his head in further, and he couldn't. And
I take it back 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I've seen how labs. I know that dogs lay eggs. Godzilla lay eggs. They both have cloacas. It makes perfect sense.
That's a good point. That's a good point. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10.
I would rate Zilla a too fucking loud. I couldn't even hear you when you were trying to talk to me out of 10. And we were constantly yelling, "What?" over the movie.
Yeah, I hate that Michael Bay became the poster child for big, dumb, stupid action and everybody making fun of him for it, because Roland Emmerich is right fucking there. Because man, this movie it has two modes. It has stupid and it has loud. And sometimes it's both, but it's always at least one of them. Every action scene is very, very, very loud. Like, we were yelling at each other to hear each other over it. But then
if I turned the movie down, you couldn't hear the dialogue.
No, the dialogue was fine.
Yep.
But the dialogue, hey, you could have turned the movie. Actually, wait a minute.
We could have watched Tank Girl instead. That would have been
Imagine the intended way to watch it. You balance it so that the action scenes are an appropriate volume, and like you said, then you can't hear the dialogue. It's the director's edition of Godzilla. The way Roland Emmerich intended it. You're not meant to hear Matthew Broderick
we gotta turn all of this dialogue down. We gotta dial down all of this dialogue.
But
I would rather have the audience being like, "What? What?
Lower.
What are they saying? What?" I'd rather that than them hear the dialogue.
Yeah. I do have one other dog I want to rate. That's every single PVM, BVM, and CRT television in this film.
Oh, just buttes through this.
There's so many good ones.
There's so many. So they have a lot of Sony PVMs in this. A lot. It looks like they had a couple L4s which looked excellent. There's also a consumer grade television with built-in VCR that has a slot loading VCR on the side of it, so it loads vertically. Fucking rad, dude.
Yeah, that's some good shit.
Yeah, these are all at least 13 out of 10 dogs. These are good.
Yeah, how much did you put those up for on eBay? Like,
thousands.
If it was a high quality BVM, thousands easily.
Yeah, low hours, high quality BVM. They only used it for the shooting of this. Like, yeah. I don't know if the fact that it was in Godzilla will make it
they might make it
less expensive.
Value, to be honest. Yeah, maybe leave that part out.
I'll leave that part out.
Well, that was Zilla 98, I guess.
Yep. If you guys want some actual good Godzilla, Shin Godzilla is superb.
Oh my god, Shin Godzilla slaps. That movie is great.
American audiences can watch that right now in subs or dubs. And like I said, the Half Century War by James Stoke, the comic, is excellent. The guy at the comic shop said, if you're going to read one Godzilla thing, this is the one. So it's self-contained.
Mhm.
It's very, very good.
That sounds a little Moby Dickish, right? Like it's
A little bit, but it plays around in the Godzilla world to the point where it's like a little bit like Moby Dick, but then it's like, oh, also Mecha Godzilla's here,
Sure.
It's like,
yeah.
You can do silly Godzilla, like Godzilla slaps his tail to drop kick a guy,
right,
that Jet Jaguar is holding.
I mean,
you could
they also what is it? They made Charles Barkley kaiju sized, and then Godzilla dunked over him. Like, you can do silly Godzilla. That's a thing that exists for sure.
This is not that.
This is not that.
No, like I would have been totally fine with them doing zany camp. Like that was actually a thing that I did look up like some interviews and stuff with them, and they were like, "Oh, we really liked the idea because it was so right for camp." And I'm like,
"It's because
why didn't you put any in the movie?"
Right. This movie suffers from like never picking a lane. Like they don't know if they want to make it scary and apocalyptic or if they want to make it silly and campy. It's like they want to destroy the Chrysler building, but they also want the little Godzillas to be slipping on gumballs.
On gumballs, yeah.
Well, when they destroyed the Chrysler building, they did it as a joke. Because he fires the missiles at Godzilla, and they're really, really slow, and Godzilla kind of looks at them, thinks for a second, and then slightly ducks. Like it is a long. It's like a good 15-second sequence of those missiles going towards Godzilla, and then Godzilla slowly ducks away from the missiles, and they hit the Chrysler building, and he goes, negative impact, negative impact," and they go, "Negative impact? That was the Chrysler building."
Yeah.
And 10,000 people died that day. Yes, I know. They didn't clear out the Chrysler building first.
Yeah,
they could have done a better joke of like, never liked the Chrysler building anyway. Like something like that. Like make it campy, make it fun.
Mars Attacks does this way better.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't even like Mars Attacks that much, but like at least Mars Attacks goes for the camp and just like goes into it, right? Like it's like, hey, this is gonna be weird, campy, sci-fi 50s garbage. Like we're gonna put his head in a UFO. I don't know. Like
also, I'd be remiss to say if Americans eventually got it right. They made Legendary Pictures came out with Godzilla in 2014. It's very, very good. They did like a King Ghidorah. They did a Kong versus Godzilla. All that stuff. All the Legendary Pictures stuff is very, very good.
Okay.
Well, that's it for this episode, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess. This movie's long. This episode's long.
This is half as long as the movie still. The funny thing is I was going to make a joke about like, we're going to have this be longer than the movie. And then I looked at the recording and I'm like, no, the movie was
the movie ends 3 times in 3 different ways. Yeah.
2 hours and 20 minutes runtime.
It's an endurance run. Boyks bought this on VHS, and somebody stopped watching halfway through and just never revisited, never came back. They were like, "I've seen enough."
There until I picked it up. Yeah, that tape has problems, so we ended up not watching the tape version. But
normally they say, "Be kind, please rewind," but that person was trying to be kind by making you not watch all of Godzilla. No, you should miss about half of it.
Yes,
I do want to point out
after the first fish pile. Watch the second fish pile and start there.
The one thing I want to point out about that tape, because it did get released on VHS and 4x3, where they clipped everything off in very bad fashion for your television. Most VHS releases, especially big budget, big studio releases, would have trailers at the beginning, show you upcoming movies and stuff. So when you bought it, you rented it, it would show you trailers for the things coming up. This was thrown on VHS with no trailers, dumped into stores, and it just starts the film.
Oh, okay. All right.
Not even the studio was behind this when they released it that way, which is wild that it made so much money. So,
yeah,
We're all just
Yeah.
exhausted. Let's just end this one. I'm just done. We're good. No jokes. We're out of jokes. There's nothing funny. Go somewhere else. We're done. Thanks for
The only funny
listening.
thing here is Godzilla piss. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, there's a lot of Godzilla piss. Can I plug my own podcast?
Yeah,
Of course.
I co-host a podcast called World's Second Finest with my buddy Jason. We've been friends for 30 years. We are combing through 90s Bat books, mostly centered around the Batman the Animated Series, comic book spinoff Batman Adventures. But we also talk about whatever else comics we're reading that week, whatever strikes our fancy. So if you're just in there for comic book recommendations, the To Read pile also goes up on my YouTube/Nick Phil, with just the To Read pile where we just make comic book recommendations. So if you want to get into comics, Godzilla Half Century War was one of my comic recommendations.
But why would anybody listen to you about comic recommendations, Nick?
Oh, because I'm a professional comic book artist. I'm a professional colorist. I colored what have I colored? Umbrella Academy, Punchline's first appearance, which is Joker's second girlfriend. Everybody remembers the second girlfriend. I've colored a lot of different stuff.
I believe that in this movie it was Godzilla.
Yeah, the Godzilla's second girlfriend. Yes.
Matthew Broderick's second girlfriend. Yes.
I got a Deep Space Nine book coming out that I'm pretty jazzed about. I feel like Deep Space Nine hasn't had a good comic book in a long time, and so we're trying to make a good one. I'm excited about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, World's Second Finest, youtube.com/Nick Phil. There you go.
Thanks, Nick.
Yeah.
All right, and
thanks for
check out
having
our
me.
own social media stuff, which we have Rough Cuts Cast on Twitter and TikTok. We have YouTube. Sorry. Oh my God. Gmail.com is our. I have entered Matthew. Where's Matt? Who fucking
He's
sent him to
in
my house?
home. He's
Where's
right
in the
behind
house?
you.
The call is coming
Hold
from
on,
in the
just a
house.
sec. I gotta find this fucker. You can finish it off, boys.
well-
I gotta.
Well, he's looking.
No,
You
Matt,
can check
get
us out on
the fuck out of
Patreon
my
at Rough
house.
Cuts Cast. We're on TikTok at Rough Cuts Cast. roughcutscast@gmail.com. Fucking hell. This episode's off the rails. And of
cool,
course, Twitter,
he
I
was-
guess. We're on Twitter until that dies. Co-host at Rough Cuts Cast as well. So, or is it just Rough Cuts on co-host? I forget.
It's just Rough Cuts. It was
Rough Cuts.
yeah. I got rid of him, so I'm good now. He was
Yeah.
digging up worms in my backyard.
Look,
Weird.
he left. He
Fucking
walks around
weirdo.
with worms in his pockets and leaves a trail. It's not hard to find him. All right.